What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 2 of the playlist. So excited to be here with you. My name is London Bridge. And if you're new to the podcast, this all started from an Instagram post where I asked people to drop a comment and tell me what song got them into electronic music, what song made them fall in love with electronic music. And the results were resounding. There was almost 7,000 comments on that post to date. Almost 200,000 views. The engagement is crazy, and people have been just leaving a crazy list of amazing songs. So I decided to make a playlist out of all of those comments, and it's something that I'm adding to every week. We have thousands of comments. So far, I'm 628 songs in. Every day I try to do a little at a time to add. And what's crazy about the playlist is there is not that many doubles. Now, yes, there are certain songs that are requested a lot, and I'm going to go through a lot of those probably in these first podcasts. But there's also a lot of songs I had never heard of, and I've been a fan of electronic music for 30 plus years. So it's been a really cool project, and I decided, what if I covered one artist per episode on a podcast? And the way I kind of figured it out, I actually started freestyling it on the first episode, and I figured out what I wanted to do, which is basically kind of go over artists that are of interest to me, honestly, on the playlist. Give a little bit of background. I mean, kind of learn together about their history, and then kind of connect the dots with my experiences with it. Because, as you know, electronic music is a very emotional thing. It's a thing that gives you a memory. You know what I mean? Like, you might be at a certain spot in your life and a certain thing happens, and there's a certain song on, and you connect those dots there, and it kind of transports you back. So that's the way I'm looking at this podcast, and I wanted to start episode 2, not with necessarily the most requested on the playlist, although they've been requested a fair amount, but very relevant to today because they have new music coming out. I'm just going to scroll down. If you're watching on YouTube, just going to scroll right down here to Disclosure. I wanted to cover Disclosure on today's episode. They happen to be one of my favorite producer, bands, duos, DJ, whatever you want to call them, favorite music artists of the last, I'd say 20 years easily. They definitely influenced me very early on when I started my DJ career, at least when I started the London Bridge part of my DJ career, because I've been DJing for over 20 years. But London Bridge I started about 10 years ago, and their first album came out right when I was starting to produce that music and DJ, and I wasn't making music that sounded like Disclosure. It was just something that got me really energized. I just loved the music so much. I was fortunate enough to see them a couple times. I think I saw them at Hard Day of the Dead in 2014, I think. I got to double check that. And I saw them, I got to look back. I've definitely seen them like 2 or 3 times. I don't want to say where it was and then it not be there, because something tells me that, did I see them at Bonnaroo? I might be making that up. Either way, amazing live. They do a lot of the stuff. If you're not familiar, the guys, they're brothers, and they play a lot of the sets with live instruments. It's really cool. You can look on YouTube. Like, they often face each other. One dude's playing the drums, one dude's playing the bass. They switch instruments. Really excellent. And I'd mentioned something about Disclosure being one of my favorite bands, and somebody tried to like roast me in the comments about like, oh, like band. And I was like, no, they are a band. They are a band. Rufus is also a band. They DJ also, but they're a band. You know what I mean? Boom, bop, beep, bop, boop, bop, boo. So when I was looking around, I went to their doing some light research, because like I know them as a fan, but I'm not like an expert. But I did find some stuff on their Wikipedia that I thought was like super interesting. Just in terms of like Guy being somebody who studied classical music. That's something I connect to, because like I studied classical music growing up. So even though I'm in this DJ world, I'm like classically trained or whatever. That was actually always a joke. Like, my friends used to be like, oh, he's classically trained. I'd be like, shut up, dude. But I did study classical music for a very long time, and I that study continues. I mean, I'm not playing classical music, but I am listening to classical music with my son, and my dad is a classical musician, so I'm often listening to him play. So there's a lot of classical music in my life. So I love that there was a connection there. It also makes sense, too. Like, Disclosure is a very musical band in terms of the songwriting, the melodies, the way that the track connects with the melodies. I mean, it's not light stuff. It's not something where like you have no classical training or no any training and you just open Ableton and you can do that. I mean, they're making special music here. So I loved seeing that. But then what was interesting to me as well in terms of the early influences, so you had the kind of classical stuff, but they got into hip hop through Jay Dilla. Now Jay Dilla, one of the greatest producers, like you think 90s hip hop, New York, one of the greatest producers of all time, passed way too young. My exposure to Jay Dilla was through the Tribe Called Quest albums. The beats are unmistakable, and those albums are probably my favorite hip hop albums of all time. Whether it's Low End Theory, I think Low End Theory is probably my favorite. Probably my favorite. You know what I like that I think is underrated is Beats, Rhymes, and Life. Anyway, sorry, this isn't a Tribe Called Quest episode, but I should do a Tribe Called Quest episode because I fucking love Tribe. But Jay Dilla produced, so it was interesting to hear that Disclosure was influenced by Jay Dilla because I'm like, oh, sick. And then they mentioned a bunch of other artists, James Blake, Chicago and Detroit House. Chicago House, Detroit Techno, UK Garage, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so they got influenced by shit and they made stuff. But the guys are brothers. Disclosure are two brothers. What I also think is worth talking about in terms of them as a group is the branding very early on. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm showing a picture of the two of them with the kind of face sketch that they have on. That immediately, when I first saw them, I was like, that is a genius logo because they had a whole campaign where they had that face put on other people. So there's like other, they use it on a lot of their stuff, but here, so like on Latch, it's like, over the girl's face, and it's kind of a meme within of itself. So when you think, here's, I love this picture right here, the two of them. This was like an early press photo. So it's almost like they're able to like create a meme out of just their faces. Here, and like I'm looking through Google right now, and you can see there's 20 different versions of it. And I know they had done like a social thing. I don't know whether it was a filter on Instagram or Snapchat where you could put the face on it. So I think that's also worth noting too. They came out the gate very strong with the branding, and they didn't really have to do anything. It was always kind of like in post. Like they didn't have to wear a mask or anything. They were just like two nice-looking English chaps. So that's a little bit kind of like the kind of when it came out, it was just such a big deal. I just remember it just being like every song. When you have an album where every song is good, like that's the differentiator between a good and a great artist. You never want to skip around. I know our culture today is not really an album culture at all, but this was at, I guess, the tail end of album culture where it still mattered. If you put out an album and this one start to finish, like every single fucking song on Settle is just absolutely insane. You know what I fucked up? I should have gotten, so one thing kind of correlating to when this came out, like my friend Chris who worked at the label, he knew I was a huge fan and he got me like a New Era like baseball hat that's signed by Disclosure. You know what I mean? I have it. I should have fucking gotten it for the episode. I have it upstairs. Should have done that. Anyway, so Settle was huge. Here, let's go and look at the track list of Settle, and also like launched Sam Smith. It had a Luna George on it. All right, so let's go to Settle. I'm going to the Deluxe 2013. So intro, it has When a Fire Starts to Burn. That's just a huge, epic thing. Latch, which was the first time we heard Sam Smith. Maybe other people had heard him in the UK or something. I don't know. But it was the first time I had heard Sam Smith. F for You, super banger. Aluna George is on White Noise, which was a big hit. Defeat No More, which has Edward McFarlane on it. Stimulation, I love that one. Stimulation you can still play. Like a lot of these you can play in the club, no remix, no edit needed. I actually like to play When a Fire Starts to Burn because it's just like people are like, oh, you're playing the original. People just assume that a flip is coming, but when the music is this good, why the fuck? I sometimes just play the original. Voices, which features Sasha Keeble. Second Chance, Grab Her. You and Me with Eliza Doolittle. Everybody knows the Flume edit of that, and both the original and the Flume remix are on the playlist. Then Jamie Woon, Jessie Ware, London Grammar's on here. There's another one with Sam Smith, Nile Rodgers, and Jimmy Nape. So there's just like a lot of collaborators on this, and every song is fucking good. Just every fucking tune. banger after banger after banger. This is the bar for like a great artist, I think. Like this is where you, as like an electronic music artist, to me, like you have to come correct like this. Damn. And many people have, and many people will. I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm just saying this is just, to me, very high level shit. Anyway, I did want to mention also specifically about what they're doing now. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm on their Instagram channel, and they just dropped "She's Gone Dance On." I did want to mention that this is a great campaign. This was a great campaign because this song has been playing in the clubs and on social media for at least 2 months before it came out. Like every artist is playing it, and they have a clip on here. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get banned for the music, but they have a clip on here of like every DJ. Here, maybe it's this one. Yeah, this one. I'm not going to turn the music off. If you're watching, you can see it. But basically, every fucking DJ in the world playing it at every major festival. It starts with Dom Dollar at, I believe, EDC. People playing it at Club Space, festivals, clubs, whatever. So just the campaign for this is insane. They just did such good promo, basically sending it to everybody. And think about this. Imagine Disclosure sends you the promo firsthand because they're sending that. They got to be sending that directly to Dom Dollar. Hey, mate, in the DMs. Hey, mate, check out this new shit. And it's such a good song. It's like instant classic that like, why would you not play it? You'd be like, I've got the new Disclosure. Of course you're going to play it. Oh, my God. Like, you'd have a boner from like the second you got it to the second you played it. Sorry. Too much? Anyway. And in the comments, on the comments, you have Subfocus, Dom Dollar, TS7, fucking ton of other DJs I've never heard of. But anyway, Goshfather. Shout out to Goshfather. We love Goshfather. I'm just saying, great campaign to get it out. Everybody was playing it ahead of time. And then it was played by everybody at EDC, and I just think it was really well done. That's what you want to do with a promo. You want to get it out like a couple months early, and you want to, and I do think, like, I know it's like such a cliche and played thing. Like every manager would be like, get clips of people playing it. It does matter. It does matter. You do want people playing your shit, and you do want to show people that people are playing your shit. So, you know, sometimes like people, like music industry people, will give advice and be like, do more social content, get clips of people playing your music, blah blah blah. Well, you should. Those might be cliche, but they are true. They are proper. You know, it's a situation where you want to look active, so that's through the social. You want to show people that every day you're doing something and you're hype and you're fucking kind of continuing the story of who you are as a brand. And then, you know, you also want to show clips and be like, oh yeah, and this motherfucker's co-signing me and playing it for me. Dude, every artist, like Skrillex, can make an artist by just dropping it once, by dropping one thing once. One thing that connects. I'm sure there's plenty of things that are dropped where it's like, but if it connects, game over, man. Game over. I love it. I love to see it. I really do. Anyway, Disclosure, one of my favorite groups, one of my favorite bands on the planet. Settle will always be like a very just meaningful record for me. At the time, I was like still working my day job, and I didn't really have like much direction. Like I was starting London Bridge, and I don't even know if Space Out had started. It hadn't, because Space Out didn't start till 2015. So 2012 is when Settle came out. So I was kind of like floating in a weird spot. I was doing fine, but like I wasn't like in the mix. Like my career in terms of what I'm doing now hadn't really started, and I was really wanted to do something that was meaningful. I didn't want to work in marketing and just like have work for other people like that. We all do what we got to do. I definitely did. I mean, I worked for 10 years in like a marketing office setting where people were telling me what to do. I learned a lot, so I'm not going to talk shit on that. I just at that point in my life, like 2012, I was like, man, I want to kind of be in the rave world, because I was working with so many different managers and artists for my job. I was doing like social media for DJs and for celebrities and stuff. Early days, back when people needed social media managers in a different way, where we were literally explaining like how the shit worked. Now everybody knows what the fuck is going on, but in the beginning, you know, that's how it was. So this was kind of just like a seminal time for me. I fell in love with this album. I just thought the songwriting was so great. It's not just the beats; like just these songs are great. The performances are great. And they've had many albums since then. Here we can go back to the wiki. Yeah, Carousel. How do you say that name? That was the one with the cat on it, right? Yeah, the one with the cat. This was a big album. This had Omen on it. It's an omen. Great song. It had Holding On and Jaded on as well. So that big record for sure. But I got to be honest with you. Does that ever happen to you where you have a specific album that you love by an artist, but like you kind of like don't follow the rest of the career necessarily? That's not true with Disclosure. I've seen them a lot and they've been in my universe, but I haven't like listened to the other records as much. I just haven't. Call me what you will. I just haven't. But so yeah, so on the playlist, like so connecting it back to the playlist, what we have on the playlist from the guys is hold on, let me search here. Oh, here it is. I'm just gonna roll down. We have When a Fire Starts to Burn, great record. Actually, my group Friendly Fire, we opened with that a fair amount because it's pretty. Get it. We've got that. We've got the You and Me Flume remix, which is really such a classic. I highly recommend listening to that one if you haven't. I feel like you've heard it. It's like, I think, just as popular as like any of their originals. Just that drop is the best. I remember when that came out and I just played that shit over and over and over. That was when I was still working my day job. I was playing over and the people on my team would come in and be like, why you continue to play that shit? I was like, because it's tight, bro. We need to get more Disclosure songs on the playlist. I think it needs white noise. I mean, you could put the whole Settle album on here and spread it apart. But so far, these are just, I'm scrolling down here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm scrolling down the playlist, and these are just the songs. These are all of the songs that people submitted in the comments of that Instagram post. And it's fucking crazy. If you're not following the playlist, go to Space Yacht and see London Bridge Selects, and that's the playlist. Or just search London Bridge Selects in Spotify, and it will come up. Or click the links in my bio. Click the links that I've got links everywhere. But we've got such a great. I mean, here. Okay, so now I'm looking at the playlist right now, and let's see. I'm track number 240 out of 600 something. This is Clear, Kaibatron. I've never heard of that. Dissolve by Liquid Stranger. I know Liquid Stranger. Overthinker by Inzo. I don't know who that is. Bring the Noise. Benny Benassi remix. Wow, that's Public Enemy originally. Fucking love that shit. Original Dawn, Flosstradamus remix. There we go. Pretty Rave Girl, S3RL. Seek Bromance, Tim Berg. That should be higher. That was a big. That's one that I have to move because that's Avicii. That's early Avicii. Mr. Beat by Mr. Oizo. That's a lot of people requested that one for sure. See, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people requested that one, and it's all the way down in 200 because so many of these songs were requested so many times. Like if you go to the top of here, like One More Time, huge. Like everybody requests that. Levels, everybody requests that. Better Off Alone by Alice DJ. Everyone. Satisfaction, Benny Benassi. Can't get you out of my head. Hundreds of requests for the same songs, and yet there's still thousands of individual tracks that I'm adding to this playlist. And I'm not doing it every day, but I'm trying every other day, trying to add like to an hour a day. It's like to an hour, like I can add like 120 to the playlist in an hour. That's how long it takes me because I have to basically like search for everything and add it. But I'm trying to make this the biggest and best electronic music playlist on Spotify. So if you're not following it, go to the link in my bio, follow the playlist. My goal, I mean, right now the playlist has how many followers? Like 1,300 followers. We started it last week. 1,381 followers. I mean, we're on the road to 2,000 followers of the playlist. I guess that's the next goal. And the podcast is part of that. You know what I mean? I want to do this podcast to really like, I don't know, just give some background knowledge on these artists. But honestly, I'm just going to talk about the way it relates to me. I don't want to just sit here and regurgitate like the history of every artist. I'm just trying to pick out things and be kind of stream of consciousness with it. I hope you can handle it. I hope it's not too much. And the other thing what's funny too that I'm noticing is like I get more views on my shorts and my Instagram reels than I do on my long form YouTube videos. So this is really for like the true heads. If you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, you're a true G, and I appreciate you because you're somebody who's willing to take the time to watch more than a 30-second bite of me being stupid. I mean, I'm being stupid, but you know what I'm saying. Me being really stupid. All right, y'all. Well, that's it. Just a little snippet about Disclosure, and one of my favorite groups of all time. And they've got a new record called She's Gone, Dance On. It's out everywhere. When you hear it, you'll be like, oh, I've already heard this a million times. But shout out to them for being able to release an all-time classic almost 10 years, more than 10 years after their debut. Big fans of these guys. And it's your boy London Bridge. You've been listening to The Playlist. I'll be back with another episode shortly, and I'll catch you next time on the Flippy Flop. Later.